Okay, now let's move on to defining this cheesecake section. So let's go to our index.html to first define this structure. Okay, over here let's create a section with the class name cheesecakes as well as id cheesecakes. Okay, now let's first create a title for this section. So h1 with the class name title. Spawn cheesecakes. Now we have already created styles for this title class, so we don't have to do any work for this h1. Now let's move on to the contents of this section. So let's create a div with the class name wrapper, and we have already defined styling for this wrapper class as well. So this part is already done as well. Now let's move on to defining the structure of individual cards. So let's give them cheese card class. This cheese card is going to consist of 3 divs as its children. The first one is named icons, and this is going to contain these 3 icons. So let's first create 3 anchor tags. Now let's bring in the class name from the Font Awesome website. So let's remove this because we won't be including any href value for these anchors. And the card. Okay, this card has an arrow down, so let's look for a different card. Let's choose this one. Now we only need this FA shopping cart. Class name is FAS, then FA-shopping cart. Okay, this is first anchor tag. For the second one as well, let's replace this with the keyword class. Now the second one is a heart, so let's look for heart symbol. This one, FAS FA-heart. I'm not copying this because I'm not including this whole I tag. I'm only using this class name for these anchor tags. So FAS hyphen FA, sorry, not hyphen, for this one, FA hyphen heart. Okay, this is second one. Now for the third one, this is an I. So let's look for the I symbol. Okay, this one. Okay. FAS FA-I. Let's go down. I is missing. Oh, I see. I haven't changed this href with the class keyword. Okay, good. Now we have to bring in this picture. And we are also bringing in this picture through a div child. So let's create a div with the class name image, img, and within this, let's actually create an image tag. Let's bring in some image from the images folder. We have this cheesecake folder, and there, let's use this second image. Okay. Next, let's create another div for the rest of the content, and within this content div, the first element is h3. This is a mango cheesecake. Let's create another div with the class name stars, and over there we need to bring in stars from the Font Awesome. This one, copy, paste. We need 4 more. And the last one is this half-filled star. Copy, paste. Now, next child of this content div is price div. A div with the class name price. So let's put in some price, 15.99. Let's bring in a span with the original price, 20.99. Okay, so this is how it looks. So these are our icons, then image, title, stars, and the price. Now we have to replicate this card to bring in more cheesecakes. So copy. Paste. Okay, so this is how it looks. Now let's fix them. Now since for the wrapper class these styles are already defined, so let's start with cheese card. Sorry, the section name is cheesecakes. Okay, then we have a wrapper class and then we have cheese card. Let's say text align center to bring everything in the center. Let's give background color, and since this color is going to be used only at this place, so let's not create any variable for this one. Okay, then heading all around is 2 rem. Let's have a look. Okay, so this is how it looks, and if you notice this one has a border, so let's give it a border. And since this border is going to be used at multiple places, for example over here you can see the border as well, this outline, and many other places we will be using this border, so let's create a variable for this border as well. In order to keep this border consistent, we are going to define all three properties of the border over here. So first property is 0.1 rem, style is solid, and for the color we are going to use this card color. Okay, so these are three properties we have defined. Now let's go down, and over here for this border let's give it this border variable. Now even though the border is very subtle, but I'm pretty sure you can still see that. Okay, now let's define hover properties for this. So copy paste and attach this hover C2 class. Now we want to give it some box shadow. The only thing that happens over here when we are hovering over it is it gets some box shadow. Now over here we are setting the first two values to be 0 because we don't want any offset value. However, we are going to give it 10 pixel as a blur property. So what this will do is that instead of showing the shadow towards the left and bottom corners, it will give the illusion of a shadow being behind this card. So it will create a certain depth, like the card is slightly raised. The shadow is going to be a shade of black, so we are going to use RGB A values with 0, 0, 0. However, for the opacity we are going to use 0.5. So this is a slightly transparent kind of color. So let's hover over it and you can see the shadow all around. Okay, now we have to first of all work on these icons, but let's fix this image size. Once the image size is in its place, then we can easily see the rest of the contents and then we can easily define the styling for them. So we know this image is one of the children of this cheese card. So copy, paste, and its child is image, a div with a class name img, and let's give it heading all around, 2.5 frame top bottom and 0 left right. Now copy paste this section, and within this image div we have actual image tag. Let's define height to be 20 rem. Okay, that's better. Now let's start working on these icons. So copy this part and place it above it, because this one actually, this child is the first child of this cheese card, so it's only fair to place it before this image tag or this image child. Okay, so this is a div with the class name icons. Now as we know that the children of these icons are all anchor tags, so we are going to directly style those anchor tags. Now we have to make this anchor tag into a square box. So in order to make it a square box, let's first of all we need a border all around it. So same border variable we are using. Then we have to give it some height and width, and this height and width should be equal so that the shape turns out to be square. Make it 5 frame and width as well 5 frame. The color of the text is going to be white. Font size is going to be 2 rem. Let's see how it looks. Okay, so this is how it looks. Now, even though horizontally these items look centrally aligned, but vertically they are not centrally aligned. So in order to bring them in the center, we are going to give, since these icons are actually text, so if we assign same line height as the height of this box, that will bring this text, which is a symbol in our case, exactly into the center of that line height. So line height is exactly what is the height of this box, which is 5 frame. Okay, good. Now we have to place some space between these elements. Since anchor tags are inline elements, so that means the top and bottom margins will not have any effect even if we define them. So let's define margin to be 0.3 rem. Now when we give one value to this margin, it means apply to all the sides. But anchor being an inline element, the margins will only be applied to the left and right. Okay, good. Now let's define the hover property for these anchor tags. So copy, come down, paste, hover, background color is main color. Now since we are going to use this same box shadow over here as well, so let's copy these values and create a variable. Paste over here, and now let's go back. Let's replace these values with box shadow, and now let's go to the hover property for the anchor. Okay, box shadow is box shadow variable. Okay, it's working. This is also working. Okay, good. Now let's move on to the content section. Okay, now since this content section comes after the image div, so let's define these styles after this image div. Copy this part, paste, and the div name is content. The first element is h3, so let's define styling for h3. Color is white. Font size 2.5 frame. Let's give it some padding, or shall we give it margins? Margin, let's give it 0.5 frame, top and bottom, and left and right 0. Maybe we should give it some more margin. So let's make it 1 rem. Okay, now let's move on to these stars. Copy, paste, and the div name is stars. And within the star divs we have I tags. So let's increase font size to 1.7 rem, and color, let's give it main color. Okay, now let's give it some paddings as well. So we are going to define this padding for the parent rather than the individual children, that is the individual I elements. So padding, how about 1.8 rem? Okay, that's better. Now let's move on to the price one. So for the price, copy this part, paste, price, color is white, Font size, let's make it 1.8 rem. Okay, now copy, paste, and now let's create styles for the span element within the price. Let's decrease its size from 1.8 to 1.4, and text decoration line true. Okay, that's better. Okay, so this is the end of our cheesecake section. Now let's move on to new arrivals. So first of all, let's define the structure in our HTML file. Okay, so this is our aim. We have to create this structure for the new arrivals. Section, class name, new arrivals, ID, new arrivals. Now over here, first of all, we need a h1 with the class name title, new span arrivals. Now we need a wrapper div, a div with the class name wrapper, and within this we have to create cards. Now I'm going to simply give each card the class name card, because new arrival card is going to be way too big, so let's just simply call it card. Now this card div contains two children, both of them are divs. So first one is an image div. This one actually contains an image, which is going to come from images folder, and let's choose this macarons one. Okay, let's remove this. Now for the second div, which is content, let's create an anchor tag. Let's remove this href. The title is rainbow macaroons. Then we have a paragraph with the lorem ipsum text. Let's put it 5 over here, or maybe let's make it 8. Then anchor tag with the class name button. The text is going to be explore. Okay, so new arrivals, and this is our first new arrival. Let me copy paste it 2 more times. Copy. Okay, now let's go and define the styles. Let's target the individual cards. So new arrivals, then wrapper class, and there we have a card div. Let's give it background color 1D. Okay, now for the border, use the variable that we have created, border, this one. Okay, copy, paste, and now let's target the image div. Let's give it 100% width, no margins, no paddings, nothing. Okay, now copy paste, and let's target the image element within this image div. It's supposed to be 100%. Okay, delete. Height is 100%. Object width contained. Width also 100%. Okay, that's good. Now let's move on to this content section. Copy, paste, and content. Let's give it padding all around 2 rem. Copy paste. Now let's target this first anchor tag. Now since there are 2 anchor tags, and we are interested in at the moment in this first anchor tag, and since we haven't given it any class name, so we are going to utilize anchor tag colon, then we are going to use nth of type. So now this nth of type will look for any element whose type is anchor within this content div, and over here we have to provide the number of the anchor tag that we actually want to target. Since there are two anchor tags and we are interested in first one, so we have to provide one. So first element of type anchor, so we are targeting that one. And the properties that we want to define are font size 2.5 rem, line height, let's make it 3 rem, color is black. Okay, so there it is. Now since this anchor is an inline element, so we can't define top and bottom margins. So instead what we are going to do is that we are increasing the line height, and it has the same effect. Okay, now let's work on the lorem ipsum text. Copy, paste, and we have a paragraph there. So first of all, let's define the color and let's give it gray color. This one, okay. The next is increase the font size to 1.5 rem. Okay, let's give it some line height as well. Since font size is 1.5, so line height let's make it 2.5. Okay, that's better. Now we have to make this button initially invisible, and once we hover over it, this should get visible. So now let's copy this part, because now we are going to access anchor element but the second one. So rather than doing that, what we can do is that since we know that this one has a class name button, so copy, paste, and target the button. Display is none by default. Copy paste it, and now when we hover over the, not the content but the card, when we hover over anywhere in the card, so therefore we have to set this hover class for this card, delete, and okay, actually we are not going to set the display property to none, because if we set display property to none, there won't be reserved any space for this button in our card. And later on, while defining this hover behavior, if we set its display property back to inline block, it will actually increase the overall size of the card as well, because now the card has to adjust in the button, the anchor button. But since we want to keep the size of the card fixed, so we have to look for other ways of making it appear and disappear. And one way to make it appear and disappear without giving up the space that it is supposed to occupy is we are going to apply a transformation, and we are going to scale it to 0. That means shrink it such that it disappears. And now over here for the hover class, let's apply the same transformation and scale it to 100% of its size. Sorry, not 100%, 1. So 1 basically means 100% in this case in terms of scaling. Okay. Are we missing anything? Okay. So when we are hovering over it, not only this anchor tag is appearing, but the color of this text is also changing from gray to the same color, the black color. So that means we have to define a transition for this paragraph as well. So copy, paste, and again we have to apply this hover behavior on the card itself and change the color to black. Okay, good. Okay, that's it. We are done with the new arrivals as well. Now let's move on to the about section. So let's have a look at the about section. Okay, so this is a very simple section with it has an image and some text and no hovering effect at all. So this is going to be very quick. Let's create a section with the class name about as well as an ID about. First of all, we need a h1 with the class name title. Let's start with the span because we are going to color the about word. So about and this, then us, about us. Now let's create a class container. I'm not placing card over here because it doesn't have any cards. It's just one container. It has a div with the class name image, which contains the image. So images, and the image that we are going to use comes from cheesecake, and it's cheesecake 1. Okay, delete this. Okay, the second child is a div with the class name content. This one contains 2 paragraphs with the lorem ipsum text. Let's make it 20. Second paragraph with the lorem ipsum text. Let's make it 12. Okay, then an anchor tag with the class name button. The text is learn more. That's it. Let's have a look in the browser. And this is how it looks. First this image and then this text. We have to bring this text in the right corner. Okay, let's go to the styles. About us section. So we have a section with the class name about. There we have a div with the class name container. We have to set display property to flex. Justify content center. Background color is black. Let's have a look. Okay, I think again I've made a mistake. Instead of defining the section, I've defined a div with the class name section. That's why there is no padding over here. So index.html, let's go up. Yes. Cut this and replace this div with section. Let's go to the bottom and let's replace this div with the section as well. Okay, that's better. Now let's work on this. Probably we need some more text, so let's add one more paragraph to this. Paragraph lorem 20. Okay, now let's style them. Now if we decrease the size, and now let's go to the about section. Now if you notice, now the structure has changed. Now the image is at the top and the text is at the bottom. So we have to make sure that the same behavior is shown by our project as well. So to do that, what we are going to do is that we are going to say flex rep to rep. So what this flex rep will do is that if it can't fit both of its children on the same row, it will bring the children on the next line. But now you must be thinking that this behavior was supposed to be shown when we were on smaller screens. So what went wrong? So basically we are displaying the image in its original size, and this original size occupies more space. Therefore there isn't enough space for this second child. And because of setting flex property, flex rep to rep, this has been wrapped and brought to the new row. So we have to basically decrease the size of this image initially, so that initially we see both of these elements are children in a single row. So to do that, we are going to define property for the image element. So this image element is inside this container, and we are going to set its flex property. First value is 1, second value is also 1, third value is 45 frames. So this is a shorthand for 3 properties. This is flex grow, this is flex shrink, and this is the flex spaces. So basically this is telling you this is the original size, and when there isn't enough space to put all the elements on a single row, and hence you have to shrink. So this image should shrink with respect to the other elements being shrunk. So if the other elements on the same row are being shrunk 45%, then this image should also shrink 45%. And likewise the same is applied to the flex grow as well. If there is more space on a single row and other elements are being grown bigger, then with respect to those elements, this image should also grow as fast or as big as them. So this is what is the property. Okay, maybe the image size is still big. let's define some properties for the image tag itself. So copy paste and image. Let's give it width 100%. Okay, good. So image size was greater than its container. Now we have ensured that the image gets 100% of its container and fit in that space. Okay, now let's work on this one, the content section. So about container and the content section. Again, let's define flex 145 frame. Much better. Let's give it padding all around 2 rem. Good. I forgot to put this H3. So let's go to our content section and let's put in H3. What makes us different? Okay. Copy paste it. H3. Font size is 3 rem. Color is white. Maybe we need some padding as well. So padding top and bottom 1.2 rem, left and right 0. Okay. Now let's work on the paragraphs. Copy paste this section, replace it with P, font size 1.6 rem, color is CCC, padding 1 rem. Okay, good. I think we need some line height as well. Line height should be bigger than the font size, so let's make it 2 rem. I think it would be, yeah, that's, maybe make it 2.2 rem. That's better. Okay, good. Is there anything left for this section? I don't think so. Okay, so we have finished our about section as well. Now it's high time that we should define this logic as well. So when we click on this home, we smoothly get scrolled up to this home section, and if we click on the cakes, we arrive at this cake section. So the first step is that we have to go to the very top, and over here where we are defining our navigation bar, all of these hrefs are empty. Now we have to provide the ID of each of these sections. So the ID for this home section is home, but since it's an ID, we have to take hash with it. So this is the ID. Likewise for the second one, the ID is cakes. So let's put hash cakes. And the third one has the ID cheesecakes. Hash new arrivals and hash about. So now what this will do is that when we click on this cheesecake, the browser will scroll up and down based on where this cheesecake section is, such that it aligns with the top left corner of this browser edge. So let's have a look. Click on cakes and we got redirected to the cakes. But if you notice, our heading is missing. So basically it brought this section, this whole section, and it tried to bring this edge of this cake section over here to the top left corner of this browser edge. And let's do the same to the cheesecakes again. It's trying to bring the starting position of this section and put it on the starting position of the browser edge. We don't want this behavior, we want this title to be visible. So basically we have to make sure that this scrolling behavior puts some space between each section and the starting portion of this browser edge. So to do that, we have to go to our this asterisk, because this is generic block. Over here, first of all, we have to give this scrolling a smooth scrolling effect. So scroll behavior is smooth, or let me comment this out for the time being. And let's define this scroll padding top. And basically we have to give it same space that our navigation bar is occupying. And since our navigation bar is occupying 16% of the viewport height, so now we are saying that bring the section that we are interested in, or the section that we have clicked, to the very top, but put some space between the browser window and this section. So let's have a look if the property that we have defined has taken effect. Cake. Now we can clearly see our title as well, cheesecake, and here we are, home, and this is working as well. However, we can't see this smooth scrolling effect that we are seeing here. To bring this smooth scrolling effect, we have to define this properly. Scroll behavior is smooth. This is our project. And let's go to about section, and we can see the smooth scrolling effect. Okay, good. Okay, that's enough for our today's tutorial. The rest we will continue in the upcoming tutorial. In the meantime, if you did like this tutorial, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and share as well. Thank you so much.